Hi, my name's Katie. I'm from Grace Community Church, Edenbridge, and I'm going into Year 6 this year, and I'm hoping if you could pray for me this year. Thank you.
Hi, my name is David. I'm from Grace Community Church in Edenbridge. This year I'll be going into Year 9, and I was hoping if you could pray for me for a good year, and that'll be great. Thanks. Bye.
Lord, I love you. Hello, chat. It's Sophia.
I am
Gonna go back to school.
very excited.
A little bit. I'm excited.
And I miss you.
I miss you. Bye bye.
Hi, I'm Bella and I'm nearly turning 10 and I've gone back to school and I'm in year 5. Please pray for me.
Hi, my name's Alicia and I've just gone back to school, which means I am now in year 8, which also means I'm turning 13 soon. So please pray for me.
Hello, I hope you've enjoyed being with us at Grace Community Church as we've worshipped the Lord together, and maybe you've also had a chance to see the short video of the children and young people at the church, and I would encourage you to pause at some point and pray for them. Pray for the children and young people as they go back to school, starting new year groups, new situation with the COVID-19. Pray that God will richly bless them, and also pray that they would increase in their faith and their knowledge of the Lord, as we all want to grow in that, don't we? So it'd be good to pray for the children. But now it's my privilege and my turn to share from God's Word. We're working through Mark's Gospel at the moment, and I want to read 3 short stories today from Mark chapter 2 and chapter 3 that spoke to me and reminded me of some of my experiences and my testimony as I've grown as a Christian since 17 years old when I first came to faith. So I'm going to read the first story from Matthew chapter 2, and starts in verse 30, and it's really Jesus calling Levi, and you'll see a theme as we work through these little stories. It says, Jesus went out again beside the lake, and all the crowd was coming to him, and he was teaching them. And as he passed by, he saw Levi, the son of Alphaeus, sitting at the tax booth, and he said to him, "Follow me." And he rose and followed him. And as he reclined at table in his house, many tax collectors and sinners were reclining with Jesus and his disciples, for there were many who followed him. And the scribes of the Pharisees, when they saw that he was eating with sinners and tax collectors, said to his disciples, "Why does he eat with tax collectors and sinners?" And when Jesus heard it, he said to them, "Those who are well have no need of a physician, but those who are sick. I came not to call the righteous, but the sinners." And I was thinking about this man, Levi. Obviously, with a name like Levi, he was a Jewish man, brought up in a Jewish family, and with that sort of name, probably from the tribe of Levi, that privileged tribe of Israel who were set apart for worshipping the Lord, for looking after the temple and the tabernacle, and looking after the sacrifices. A very privileged tribe and position to be in. And yet here we find this man working for the Roman Empire as a tax collector. It seems, I guess, he must have got disillusioned with his Jewish faith at some point along the way. He must have turned his back on that and said, well, I can do better by working for the Romans, even though they are hated by my people, even though they are the occupying force. And there he was, collecting taxes and undoubtedly lining his own pockets as well, because that's often what tax collectors in those days did. And he was collecting taxes as people went on journeys through that area. In fact, it's interesting to note that Peter would probably have had to pay taxes to Levi. He was a local businessman, a local fisherman, and would have gone to and fro with his with his catch of fish to sell and would probably have had to pay taxes to Levi. And yet Levi was to become one of the apostles of Jesus. He was renamed Matthew, along with Peter. That's an interesting thought, isn't it? And I guess nobody had a good word for Levi. He would have been despised, he would have probably been insulted, talked about behind his back, and ridiculed. Oh, he's that corrupt tax collector, mixes with sinners, works for the Romans, we don't like him. And yet Jesus comes, and as he passes by, he calls Levi and says, "Follow me." I guess that was a very, very memorable day for Levi. For a start, it was perhaps the first time for a very long time that anyone had spoken to Levi without insulting him, without sneering at him, or without being negative in some way, or angry, or something like that. And Jesus says, "I want you, follow me. Come and follow me." And that must have struck such a chord with Levi. Levi had grown up with a belief in God. He'd grown up with knowing that God existed, but certainly wasn't following him. And I wonder how many that applies to today. There are many people in the UK, for instance, if you're listening in the UK, which most of you will be, who have some sort of belief in God, who wouldn't say, "Nah, God doesn't exist." There are those who say that, but many people would accept there probably is some sort of God. But that's very different to following him. And that's where I was when I was 17 years old. I, as a child, been sent to Sunday school. I'd sometimes gone to church and chapel and things like that. And I knew some of the stories of Jesus. But I certainly didn't follow him. And I can remember that time when I discovered who Jesus was when I was about 17 years old, and realised that actually I needed to not just have a general belief in Jesus, but follow him, and that Jesus wanted me to follow him. And Jesus wanted Levi, even Levi, to follow him. And no matter who we are, and no matter what we've done, even if we have got disillusioned with our faith in the past, even if we've had bad experiences of faith, or sadly even of church at times, Jesus comes and says, "Come and follow me," and leave that behind and follow me. And that's a wonderful and a challenging thing to think about, isn't it? Rather than just faith being something that we think of on a Sunday or with an occasional meeting, actually our faith leads us to follow Jesus wherever he leads us and in the life that he wants for us. And then I want to just read us a second little story from this gospel in chapter 3 and verse 1. Again Jesus entered the synagogue, and a man was there with a withered hand. And they watched Jesus to see whether he would heal him on the Sabbath, so that they might accuse him. And he said to the man with the withered hand, "Come here." And he said to them, "Is it lawful on the Sabbath to do good or to do harm, to save life or to kill?" But they were silent. And he looked round at them with anger, grieved at their hardness of heart, and said to the man, "Stretch out your hand." He stretched it out, and his hand was restored. Well, here we have another incident where Jesus encounters somebody. We don't know the man's name this time. This time Jesus encounters someone who is ill and disabled. And I know from this story, it's very interesting, that Jesus sees the man. He doesn't wait. He doesn't wait to be asked. He doesn't say, "Would you like me to pray for you?" He just says, "Come here." And then stretch out your hand. He's really saying to the man, "I am going to do you good. Come here, stretch out your hand," and he heals him. That's amazing, isn't it? That there's not so much an invite, but a command. Come here, I will do you good. The man could do nothing. The man could not heal himself. The man could not make himself better. The man could not make himself complete and well, could not deal with his disability, but Jesus could. And in the end, you know, it is Jesus who comes to us to heal us on the inside or on the outside, because sometimes Jesus heals us as well physically. But on the inside, he heals our hearts. He makes us complete on the inside. The Jewish and Hebrew word for salvation includes the idea of health as well. And Jesus comes and saves completely and to the uttermost. I remember an incident when Sue and I lived in China, and Sue was teaching the story of Easter to a large class of teenagers in a school. She was teaching English, and she was teaching the story of Easter and walking up and down the class. It was a large class. There were many children. There were about 60 children in the class, in fact. So in order to help the children see the picture of Jesus on the cross, Sue was walking up and down the aisles of the classroom. And one young man just said to Sue as she walked up and down, "Why did Jesus die on the cross?" And Sue just turned to him and said, "To forgive us our sins." And later that day, that young man came to our house and knocked on our door because he wanted to know more. He'd realised that Jesus could do something for him that nobody else could do. And in fact, that day he became a Christian as he accepted Jesus into his life. He realised that Jesus on the cross taking our sin, Jesus on the cross taking our guilt, Jesus on the cross taking our shame, dying in our place, could bring that complete salvation to us as he accepted and put his faith and trust in Jesus. And Jesus says to us, "Come here, I'm going to do you good." And he invites us to come here. That is like that young man in China did quite a few years ago now. He invites you to come to him and to give yourself to him and follow him, just like Levi was called to. And just like this man was healed, so he wants to heal your heart and cleanse your heart, clean your heart, that you will live a new life. So now, just very briefly, let me sum up by looking at a third little incident in chapter 3, where Jesus says this, or this is what happens. "And he went up on the mountain and called to him those whom he desired, and they came to him. And he appointed 12, whom he also named apostles, so that they might be with him, and he might send them out to preach and have authority to cast out demons. He appointed the 12, Simon, to whom he gave the name Peter, James the son of Zebedee, and John the brother of James, to whom he gave the name Boanerges, that is, sons of thunder, Andrew and Philip and Bartholomew, and Matthew, that was the Levi who we met earlier, and Bartholomew, and Thomas, and James the son of Alphaeus, and Thaddeus, and Simon the Cananean, and Judas Iscariot, who betrayed him." Jesus calls his disciples. Jesus has been talking to people. He's been calling people. He's been answering their questions. He's been teaching. He's been healing. He's been interacting with many people. And now he calls people, those whom he desires, and appoints them to be with him so that he can send them out. And that's a wonderful thought. Jesus desires us and says to us, "Come. I want you to be with me. I desire you to follow me and to be with me." And all these little stories and the little stories that we see in Mark's Gospel, they are all about bringing people to be with Jesus. And the wonderful thing is, we are to be with Jesus and Jesus with us. That's what makes the difference in our lives. We still live in this world, in this earth. We still have to deal with COVID-19 like everybody else has to deal with it. But we have Jesus with us if we are followers of him. And he invites us to follow him. and desires us to follow him. That is what the call is about. I notice Jesus does not invite us to follow him. He calls us to follow him. That's much stronger. Sometimes maybe we're a little bit too polite and we wait for an invitation. And Jesus actually calls us. And our role is to respond to that and say, yes, Lord. Are you willing to say, yes, Lord, to him today? Are you willing to follow him? Maybe you are not a Christian yet. You can decide to follow him today and put your trust in him as God gives you faith. Maybe you are a Christian. What is God saying to you today? God desires you to be with him, and he desires you to follow him and put your trust in him today for whatever challenges you are facing. Maybe you're disillusioned like Levi was, and maybe you have lost some of your faith or some of your zeal. And Jesus is saying, come follow me, I will do you good. Well, let me pray for you now. Father, I thank you for sending your son Jesus. And I do pray that we will have the faith, that you will give us the gift of faith to follow you, to hear you saying, come, to hear you saying, I desire to have you and to be with you. And I ask for that faith today. I pray you will strengthen each one of us as we go through our day and our week. I pray that you will help us to face the challenges that we have in your name, Lord. And I pray that we will be known increasingly as those who are followers of you. I ask this in the name of Jesus. Amen. Well, thank you so much for listening. I hope this has been encouraging and helpful. And if you do want to ask any questions or comment, then do get in touch with us. But for now, I'll leave you and see you next time.